Rachel Dolezal was on the Today Show today. This is clip number one. This is one of the first questions that Matt Lauer asked her.
Let me just ask you the question in simple terms again, because you've sent mixed signals over the years. Are you an African-American woman?
I identify as black.
And apparently she's creating a differentiation, a separation between being black and being African-American. In other words, she's not genetically, she can't trace her genetics to Africa, but she identifies herself as part of the black culture. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has weighed in on this. We'll get to that in just a second. Here's clip number two, where you just using racial identification, which you have, Matt Lauer is saying to her essentially, which you have changed from white to black over the years. And she said she'd started identifying as black when she was 5 years old, and she was even using crayons to draw pictures of herself with a dark face, brown crayons instead of the pink crayons. So here's where Matt says, you know, is this a hustle? Here he is.
When someone said to you back then, are you black or white? And you'd say, I'm black. You didn't say, I identify as black. You'd say, I'm black. When did you start deceiving people?
Well, I do take exception to that because it's a little more complex than me identifying as black or answering a question of, are you black or white? I was actually identified when I was doing human rights work in North Idaho as first transracial. And then when some of the opposition to some of the human rights work I was doing came forward and started, the next newspaper article identified me as being a biracial woman. And then the next article, when there were actually burglaries, nooses, et cetera, was this is happening to a black woman. And I never corrected.
Well, why didn't you correct it? You knew it wasn't true.
Well, because it's more complex than, you know, being true or false in that particular instance.
And then finally, you know, he talks to her about her lawsuit against Howard University, where she sued Howard, the traditionally black college that she attended, because, well, you can listen to it yourself. Here she is.
Your lawsuit against Howard University in 2002, where you claim you were discriminated against because you were a pregnant white woman. Do you understand how people could hear that and say, here's another example? She says she identified herself as being African-American or black from a young age, but here's a case where she identified herself as a white woman because it worked for her under the circumstances.
The reasons for my full tuition scholarship being removed and my teaching position as well, my TA position, were that other people needed opportunities, and you probably have white relatives and that, you know, that can afford to help you with your tuition. And I thought that was an injustice.
Yeah, so there's that. And now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you know, the former NBA player, he said that she has proven herself a fierce and unrelenting champion for African Americans politically and culturally. He adds that because I'm reading from a piece in the Huffington Post by Lucy McCalmont. He adds that because some research has led scientists to find that there's no such thing as race as such, Dolezal has merely selected, these are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's words, quote, merely selected a cultural preference of which cultural group she most identifies with. So, he writes, does it really matter? This is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So, does it really matter whether Rachel Dolezal is black or white? Dr. King said we should be judged by the content of our character rather than the color of our skin, which is what makes this case so difficult. So, yes, it does matter. Apparently, lying to employers and the public you're representing when the lie benefits you personally and professionally is a deficit in character. However, the fight for equality is too important to all Americans to lose someone as passionate as she is and who has accomplished as much as she has. And then, of course, Melissa Harris Perry asked the question, you know, could she be trans black the way that Bruce Jenner is a trans woman? Or, excuse me, Caitlyn Jenner. So culture meet biology, right? What does it mean to be black in America?